Welcome to the Explainer. We've always thought of our DNA as this fixed biological blueprint. But what if that's changing? What if it's becoming something else entirely? Something more like a programmable code? That's exactly what we're digging into today. Our sources point to this massive ideological battle brewing over the very nature of DNA. Is it this sacred, unchangeable blueprint for your soul? Or is it becoming the ultimate operating system ready to be programmed? We're looking at a huge shift in how we see our most fundamental instruction manual. And we're asking, what is DNA, really? And what is it becoming? All right, let's dive into the first of two really different paradigms. This is the view of DNA as a high-performance, programmable platform. And believe it or not, this idea doesn't start with biology. It starts with a global data crisis. Okay, get this. We are creating data so fast that by 2040, we're projected to run out of silicon to store it all. So what's the solution? According to our sources, it's DNA. It's basically an apocalypse-proof storage medium. I mean, look at these numbers. It lasts for thousands of years, it's 1,000 times denser, and it's millions of times more power efficient. You could store all the world's data on a single kilogram of DNA. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When you start thinking of DNA as a data platform, it completely changes how you see the human body. If our most basic biological component is the best hard drive on the planet, then what does that make us? The body is no longer just an organism. It starts to look a lot more like hardware. And this isn't just theory. This technological view is already in practice with pre-implantation genetic testing, or PGT. And look, it's not just about screening for diseases anymore. The process, as you can see, now involves scoring and ranking embryos based on the potential for traits, like intelligence. We are literally moving from diagnosis to design. So what's the tool that makes all this possible? It's mRNA technology. Now, our sources frame this less like a vaccine and more like a software update for your cells. It's acting as an API, an application programming interface, which basically means it lets an external command get sent directly into your cellular machinery. And that is the crucial point, right? This process allows a third party, say a manufacturer, to issue a command directly to your body's blueprint. It completely bypasses the body's natural sovereign systems. This is the very core of that programmable platform model we're talking about. But hold on, there is a completely different way of looking at all this. A perspective that sees DNA not as a hard drive you can write code on, but as a sophisticated receiver, an antenna, for the universe itself. This second model, which is sometimes called wave genetics, suggests that our DNA is a quantum coherent structure. Okay, what does that mean? It means it behaves less like a static code and more like a biological antenna, one that can send and receive information instantly, using photons, the actual particles of light. Yeah, research into something called biophotonics suggests our DNA actually communicates using light. The double helix is like a tiny biological laser, shooting out and absorbing these light particles that carry information. This creates this incredible, coherent field. Think of it as a biological Wi-Fi zone that organizes the 100,000 chemical reactions happening in your body every single second. It's what makes life possible. And this model has some really powerful evidence behind it. Check this out. In a study by Glenn Rain, people were actually able to physically change the structure of human DNA in a test tube just by using focused thought. I mean, this is a measurable, scientific link between our consciousness and our biology. It proves that DNA isn't just fixed. It can be malleable, alterable by our own minds. So here we are with two completely opposite philosophies. On one hand, are we just complex machines that can be programmed with our evolution outsourced to a lab? Or, on the other hand, are we powerful creators with bodies that act as transducers for consciousness itself?
So that leads to a really big question. If we have this incredible, innate quantum potential to influence our own biology, why do we seem to rely so much on these heavy industrial technologies to do it for us?
Well, the theory our sources present is that our natural biological antenna is basically getting drowned out. We live in this constant electromagnetic soup of Wi-Fi, 5G, and all kinds of other signals. It creates so much static that our own subtle internal signals just can't get through. And this creates what's called a signal-to-noise problem.
because we can't receive those clear signals from our own consciousness or from the universe, if you will, we end up turning to these powerful artificial tools to force a change that might have once happened naturally. We're creating a dependency on a technological bypass.
Okay, so this brings us right to the heart of the matter. What is the real purpose of these new technologies, especially the artificial transcription of mRNA back to our DNA? Is this all for our benefit, or is it really about control? In nature, the process where RNA writes information back to DNA is a form of evolutionary learning. It's how an organism adapts, it's sovereign and self-directed. But when that same process is introduced artificially from the outside, the purpose seems to shift away from sovereign learning and towards programmable control. And this is the bottom line. If an external, artificial sequence gets written into your DNA, your sacred biological blueprint could essentially become a patented, proprietary product. It raises huge questions about the potential loss of our own biological autonomy. Ultimately, this presents humanity with a choice between two very different futures. One path, you could call it the theistic view, sees us as a sacred creation with a soul. The other, the singularity view, sees us as a manufactured product, our DNA as software, and even death as just a technical glitch that we need to solve. So, what's the takeaway here? This is not science fiction anymore. The real question is this: is our DNA the sacred blueprint of a sovereign creation, or is it on its way to becoming the intellectual property of a proprietary product? The future of what it even means to be human might just depend on which of these paradigms we choose to build on.